Hey everybody, welcome back to Scattercast. This is a channel dedicated to the things that me and my brother are into in the moment. Today we have a very special guest. We have Matt Farley. If you watched our previous episode, we talked about the DVD local, or not DVD anymore, the Blu-ray Local Legends. Matt Farley is a very prolific filmmaker and songwriter. He's got 2 movies coming out this year, added to his already 8 total, so 10 movies so far. And we just found out that he's up to 22,389 songs written. And
It's a big
new album,
accomplishment.
what is 402nd album coming out this year. So welcome to the show. Ray's going to jump in briefly and just kind of, for anyone who hasn't watched the previous episode, because you don't need to, but just watch, well, you should, but
Yeah.
so this is how we discovered Matt and his work. So
Yeah. So we just did a previous episode on what my physical media pickups were for the month. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, but I'm obviously a huge fan of the physical medium, big Blu-ray, DVD, 4K collection, lots of vinyl and CDs. But one of the things I brought up was Gold Ninja Video and the boutique editions the boutique label Gold Ninja Video and some of the super special editions that they do. And the first video I watched from them was Local Legends, and I just fell in love with the whole Motern Media universe. And so I just started gobbling up as much as I could over the last month and a half since picking that up. And we were going to try to give you a call, a live call during the last cast, but it was a little bit too late. So I waited, kind of reached out to you, and then we got to talking back and forth and decided to set up this interview here. So welcome. And,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's better this way. It's happened before a few times. I've been, suddenly on a podcast because I give out my numbers so freely.
Yeah.
But this is better. We can sit down and have a real talk.
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Right.
Yeah. Plus,
So that's actually a good first question is that how often does that happen? That you're just kind of shocked into, oh, yep, somebody must have saw, listen to one of my video or listen to one of my albums or watch one of these videos and the numbers right there for people to call. Is it more of a shock for you, or is it a shock for the fans that actually call and go, holy crap, he actually answered?
Yeah. It happens daily, multiple times a day at this point. And I'm getting good at kind of coaxing people into being themselves, like, because a lot of times they'll especially younger people will be real like silly and weird and just shout poop at me,
Right.
But I can usually wait them out to the point where they just end up talking
Yeah.
Right. They go from totally mocking me at the beginning of the phone call, and then like we have a deep conversation about the creative process by the end of it, and they're like, man, you gave me some stuff to think about.
Right. That's awesome.
So to start off, I know it's probably like a cliched like thing right now with everything going on. But we kind of started out of the pandemic. We were doing like an audio only show, and then it was just like, well, let's just throw some stuff up on YouTube. While we're going, you're kind of known as a very prolific creator. So has the pandemic have you seen any change in your work? Has it been upped because of lockdown? Have you been more stressed and maybe gone down and haven't been as creative? Like how has that pandemic kind of affected you?
I was already working from home, recording music at home. This has been my full-time job for 4 years now. So it definitely didn't change the music, the way I approach music at all. It hurt with the movies, because we were about 70% done a movie.
Oh wow!
And but our actors are scattered. Like one guy has to travel, 5 hours from New York to film with us, and the governor outlawed interstate travel.
Right.
So we're like, oh man, we can't make our movie. We're looking at like, what's the fine for breaking the governor's rules? And it's like, we've never earned that much with one movie, so it's definitely not worth risking it. So it definitely put the movies on hold. big time. Basically for the whole time, like we're just getting back into the movies, and it just hurts to have a project, and like when things come to a halt, it's very hard to get them back again. Like you need the momentum when you're making a movie. So that hurt, but we took that time to write a whole other movie. We're like, well, we can't film, let's write another one, and so it's been pretty productive. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
We talked about that in the beginning, Travis and I, in the beginning of the pandemic, where we said, I think the silver lining with the pandemic is going to be art, where we are definitely going to see the creative process at work with, musicians, people that write and create stuff. That's all they had to do, so we'll see a lot of albums come out, a lot of things. So a lot of new podcasts have started, just people like, hey, I got time on my hands suddenly. Let's do that thing that we always talked about doing. Yep.
So
there's a couple things, and we talked about it in previous episodes, that kind of forced our hand during this pandemic, that, we always talked about how we would do some of these things, and then the pandemic forced us into having to do this. So
life gave us lemons, and we made a podcast. Yeah.
Right. Well, Travis, did you want to ask about so talking about the pandemic and actually not stifling the creative medium, you actually had a good question on here about the actual when it comes to the creative process. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Oh, the songwriting process?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. So when you're coming up with a song, what do you go to like first? Do you write it first? You grab kind of, in the question was, do you ever go to the piano, or do you go to a pen? Kind of what's the kind of like, where does that kind of process start for you?
Okay. So, well, I have varying types of songs, like if I do a whole album of songs about celebrities, I just make a list of celebrities, and then and I'll get the list by going to Google and just typing in current celebrities,
Right.
And whichever ones show up on the list that I haven't already written a song about, I put them on the list. Then I come to the keyboard and I type in that person's name, read their Wikipedia page, get some key facts, and then just hit a few notes and sing along with it, essentially summarizing their Wikipedia page to a pretty basic, just whatever piano riffs I'm coming up with. So, but I mean, there's a place for that in the world. People like it, but I mean, it's definitely not high art by any means,
Right.
And what's funny is when I do record what I consider high art, nobody wants to listen to it. They're like, keep singing about poop and celebrities, but I feel the need to, let out my artistic side. And so when I'm writing the song that I'm proud of, my approach is a little similar, because one thing I like to do is, like, I don't want to come to the keyboard and the recorder let's just write. You know what I mean? Like, too many options. Like, you're sitting there, like, come on, come up with something, and it's like having a million options can be stifling in a weird way. And so one thing I do is, if I'm watching TV or something, I might have a notebook with me. And if I hear just like a phrase, if a character on the TV just says like a little phrase that kind of interests me, I'll jot it down. And over the course of, a few days, I got like a notebook filled with all these little phrases,
Okay.
And then I approach that as like the starting point. So I'm sitting at the keyboard. I want to write a good song. I look at the list, and I try to just go through the list. Okay, the first phrase on the list is "I tell you what." Okay, that in that instance, when my son was like 2 or 3, we asked him to finish his dinner, and he turned to us. He said, "I tell you what." And then he was like, he was beginning the negotiation process, like how can he get out of eating? And my wife and I just start dying laughing at this like 2-year-old, talking to us like that. And so I tell you what was on the list, and then when I'm down ready to record music, I tell you what, and then that just focuses me, and then the music will start coming, and I just kind of go from there. But having some sort of limitation, like, too many options is bad, so that I limit my choices, and I just force myself to do it. Like, if I tell you what isn't coming out very good, I still finish it. Like, no matter how bad it is, it's like I must get through I tell you what, and then maybe the next song will be better. And in some cases, it's like 5 songs down the line are better. But I really feel that if I didn't force myself to write each one on the list, then I'd lose focus, or like you have to like get through the bad ones to get to the good one.
Yeah.
And then the craziest part is, oftentimes I think I've gotten through the bad ones to get to the good ones, and then I release it, and people are like, "Oh, I like the bad ones,"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's never,
who knows?
know.
And that's like the hardest part about like when you're your own critic is, like you said, like where you think it's a bad one, someone else thinks it's a good one. And I think that's where kind of in the art world, or like it kind of came from a photographer that said it, but I use it a lot in the graphic design world of like finished is better than perfect, because just getting through it and finishing it is better, because it's like if you want it to be perfect, it's never gonna be done.
Yes.
We would go to comic. Oh, sorry. What was that?
No, I mean that's I'm with you 100% on that, because you hear some people saying they worked on a song for a year, and it's like, I wonder how much better is it from where it was a week in versus a year in. How much better is it? Really? Is it like 2% better? And like, come on, knock it off. Like, finished is a huge thing for me. Just get it done. Don't worry about it. Yeah. You always notice the mistakes. There's nothing you can do about it. All you hear are the mistakes. All you see are the mistakes. But big deal. I mean, you see on TV shows, like professional, nationally broadcast TV shows, like moments when the lips don't match the dialogue, or like it's a reverse shot. You can tell the guy's not saying what the words that are coming out, and it's like, well, if they can get away with it, I mean, we should be able to,
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what me and my brother like the most about like stuff, like the organic process of making art. Like I love seeing like the boom mics every once in a while, or just like a little mistake. I watched this thing that was the original Turtles movie, and the weird rubber weapons that were hitting things, or just a human hand all of a sudden, or like a guy in the background. It's like that cool. Just no, they needed to get it done, and there was a little bit of a mistake, in it.
Yeah, and you didn't notice it when you were a kid either, which is the crazy part,
Right. Well, I'll piggyback off that in a little bit when we talk about more of the films, because I think that, there's a big difference between production quality and story and narrative. And, I always use the example of, Local Legends was amazing. I love it. Don't Let the River Beast Get You was fantastic. And you look at something like, some people will say like, well, yeah, that stuff's shot on video, or it doesn't have like good production quality. And I'm like, yeah, but look at the last Transformers movie. That's a production blockbuster, but it was a pretty terrible movie, so it doesn't have to be high quality, or like you said, high art to be appreciated. And so that's one of the endearing qualities of this universe that you've created with the music and the movies.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think we're a little bit sly. Like we like to present ourselves as buffoons who don't know what they're doing. And sometimes I think we're too convincing at that, and people are like, man, these guys are idiots. And we're like, no, we're not idiots. We're so smart that we tricked you into thinking we're idiots.
Right. But when I was pitching all this to, Travis on the last cast, one of the things that I talked about is that so obviously it was movie first for me, because I found you through the Local Legends movie, and you have the opening, where you're at the club or whatever, and then you do the song Scarlett Johansson Farts, and so there was the first 30 seconds, there's that immature kid that calls you and is like, oh, you're talking about poop, whatever, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like kind of funny he's doing, and then it's like, you start listening to and I'm like, dude, this is not just goofy saying things about poop or whatever. I'm like, this is actually good. Like, I listened to the Emotions like album a couple of times. I was like, I can't believe how good some of these songs are. So it is.
Yeah.
It may somebody might hear it and think it's quick, or oh, this guy's just trying to get clicks on Spotify or whatever. And I know you've had that in the past where you've had to you got some of that press with are you just spamming Spotify, whatever. But it's the creation process. It's the people that don't do it is a process. And so 22,000 plus songs, I don't care if they're songs about toilet bowls or poop, whatever. That's not anything to sneeze at. That took you time and effort to put that in. I mean, look, it takes, it's kind of a big thing just for me to get on here once every 2 weeks to do a podcast with my brother, so I can't even imagine getting in a studio and recording, that many albums.
Yeah. I see, like, when there is an article about me, you'll see in the comment section, like, someone in a band saying, oh, maybe I'll do that. Mm-hmm. And when I read that, I'm like, oh yeah. You just try to do that. You will quit after 2 hours. I get vicious. I mean, I just say it to myself. I don't actually respond to the person, but I'm ready for a fight.
Ready for a fight. That's awesome.
But isn't
sorry.
Sorry. It's up on you.
No, you're good. I was just looking over here.
But it is like really weird and strange how like I was talking to my wife about this. I'm like, we have like these arbitrary lines in art that like everyone just makes up for you. Like so, you have to make money some way, but you can't make it another way. You can't use, it's like, why shouldn't I use SEO? Everyone uses SEO. Especially with the way we've decided that music is going to get consumed. Like, not everybody, like, I have a stack of records over here that we've been collecting for the past month of like our new pickups. We're all from the era of, you look at a cover, you get a recommendation from a friend. Everything is now consolidated to like 3 apps. You know what I mean? So how are you going to stand out where the computer's telling you what to listen to? So it's like, of course I'm going to use these tricks. Like, they give you the tools to do it. Why not use them?
And I mean, and the thing is, like, all of our favorite artists are essentially employees of like mega corporations. Like Bob, Bob Dylan is the voice of a generation and a poet, and he works for Columbia Records. And it's not cool. It's not cool to put up billboards of yourself, right? Like, if I put up a billboard of myself, people are like, you're obsessed with yourself, and like, like, that's shameless. But like, if Columbia Records puts up a billboard of Bob Dylan, Bob can be like, oh, it wasn't me, it was Columbia, but like, indirectly it was him, and so all our favorite artists are just hiding behind a promo team, and seeming cool. And I kind of try to embrace that. I'm like, I am so not cool that I will actually give out my phone number and I will talk to you, personally, and I'll try to, sell you a few things while we're on the phone, direct you to a few of my better albums. And that's kind of what Local Legends, I think, is about. It's like, within the movie, when you're an indie artist, you can't separate the business from the art. Like, you're doing all of it, and so my point of view is like, well, I might as well embrace it and just be totally shameless about it, because trying to act cool for it just doesn't work for me.
I like when artists get paid and make money and have a life, lifestyle. You know how many bands that we listen to that aren't around anymore because they couldn't make a living wage?
Right.
And it's just like, is the music going to suffer? I don't know. It can't. I mean, there's plenty of artists that we listen to that live in mansions that still write really good tunes, really good songs, and artists that live.
We probably wouldn't. We wouldn't hear it otherwise.
Right. Yeah. So I had one question, which was kind of sticking with the music, or actually it could just be any aspect of your creative process. But what were some of your early influences? So going back, one of the things that Travis and I talked about, which why I kind of just fell in love with the content, was that it reminded me of our younger days where we just wanted to record ourselves doing everything. Like I used to have this cheap cassette recorder that I would press record on, and we would literally record ourselves playing hide and seek, or we would record ourselves playing Dungeons and Dragons, and we go back and listen to it, and and laugh about little in jokes and that. And then it transitioned into my parents got a video camera, so we started filming movies and that. But what were some of your earlier influences of, as far as like kind of getting into the realm of music and movies?
Yeah. Well, first off, I used to hit record, like when my family would go out, I used to hit record on the tape recorder and just leave it running while we were gone, so that I could hear what had happened in the house while we weren't there.
That's awesome. Yes.
Awesome. And the video recorder, same thing. Like we got one when I was 14, and almost immediately I'm getting all my friends together and we're making movies, and it was so much fun. And basically it's like, let me just take that, the joy of doing that and the joy in the finished product of that, and let me just make it a little bit more professional, just barely a little bit more professional, but still maintain that. And I mean, my influences are pretty mainstream though. It's not like I was like listening to only indie obscure stuff growing up. Beatles, Bob Dylan, Rolling Stones, U2, REM. So, and then movie-wise, I love Alfred Hitchcock movies growing up, and still do. And then, like later on, I got into more obscure stuff. Someone who heard my music told me about Jonathan Richman. I don't know if you guys know him. From the band The Motern Lovers back in the 70s, and then did solo ever since. And I'm a big fan of his, so I definitely like some quirky, unusual stuff, but pretty mainstream. Van Morrison, Pavement, Radiohead, etc.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've had to deal with this a lot. We were all about the same age, but you're trying to do a podcast, you're making movies, probably not with a big budget, and so you probably got people out there, the people out there. I always call them the people that are like, why do you play this kids game, or why do you do this dorky stuff? And one of the things that I really took to heart was on one of the special features on Don't Let the River Beast Get You, as a phone interview with your father. And I noticed that your parents have always been very supportive of your creative process and everything. And so do you feel like you would have carried this on, post, high school or college into your working adult years, if it wouldn't have been for the obvious support you've had from your close friends and your family?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely good, it's definitely good having the support. And I think part of the reason that they're supportive is like, I was never a starving artist, like as soon as college ended, I the first thing I did was get a job. I worked at a group home for teens for 17 years. And so in Local Legends, it's an old age home, but I changed it for the movie. I didn't want to, make fun of the kids that I saw every day. They're like, hey, we saw the way you depicted us in your movie.
Right.
But and so I think that helps, because like you're going to lose the support if you're following your dream and asking for money,
Yeah. And, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took the job working at the group home in large part because I got to the point where I was working 40 hours in 3 days, So just work long shifts. And frankly, it was tons of fun. I was just hanging out with kids, playing basketball any chance I got,
Yeah.
We had a gym there.
Yeah.
I'd be playing for an hour and a half, playing an intense 3-on-3 basketball games, thinking, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. This is wild.
That's
awesome. Anyway, it was like, all right, get a job that will pay the bills and then live real cheap. And then the 4 days that I'm not working, I I can work on the music and the movies, and so it's gonna take. I learned quickly it's gonna take a while before I start earning any money off this.
Yeah.
Like go down a lot of dead ends and try different things. I mean, I didn't start making like any money until I was like 30 or even a little after turning 30,
Okay.
And I mean, that's pretty, that's when you start questioning yourself
Right.
big time. Like, what am I doing with my life? But I at least had the job. I mean, by any standards for someone with a college college degree, I was earning the same at age 30 as I was at age 22.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enough. And so, but I'm sure that behind closed doors, there were moments when people in my family were like, "Oh, he's making another movie, is he? Huh? Jeez, that kid, man,
Yeah.
what? He's 30. Is he 30 now?
Is he 30?
He's still running around with his friends." So, but every once in a while, I would feel that, like no one ever said it to me.
Right.
You could kind of feel that little vibeness, but when push comes to shove, they'll appear in my movie, which is great, and things move forward in such a way. Like we got our DVDs available, actually on Netflix back when Netflix was mailed to people's houses.
Oh, yes, yep.
And so like when you're like, the movie I made, you can rent it on Netflix. They'll mail it, and like people are like, oh, okay, like you're not a complete failure. Like that's some credibility. So I would get just enough credibility along the way that there was never any intervention, which is nice.
I felt that way when we hit 10 subscribers because I finally could tell my wife that like now that that's more subscribers than what we know in the immediate family that watch our podcast. So you can no longer be like, well, that's fine that you guys are doing your little podcast, but is anybody even watching it or listening? And it's like, we're having fun.
Exactly.
And I actually have a similar, so I'm a full-time firefighter. So I work a 24 on, 24 off shift schedule. So I've got every 3 days, I've got 4 days off. So it's the same thing. It's like, hey, look, I'm with my kid. I'm not out, frequenting bars and strip clubs and stuff like that. So what I do in my little bit of downtime that I have in between, fire shifts, that's my business. And if it's, recording a podcast with my brother or playing nerd games, it doesn't matter,
Yeah, but there's definitely something like when you are doing a creative endeavor in an individual way, the people around you, as supportive as they are, like they never quite understand, and like I still play things for people, play songs for people a lot less than I used to, but it's hard for them too, because they don't want to disappoint you, and you're staring at them like I'm watching their facial expression, looking for microaggressions while I'm playing the song. And it's like, this is no one, like, I should not listen to Bob Dylan's new record with him staring at me longingly and desperately, So I need to, the reason I do my podcast is to spare my wife, it's like, I go down and podcast for an hour talking about my new album so she doesn't have to hear it.
Yeah, it's exactly. I'm like, if I don't have that outlet once every week or two where I could talk about all the shit that I'm into that my wife's not, then it's gonna kill her. And we always joke about it because people are like, well, does your wife listen to your podcast? And I'm like, no, she doesn't listen to my podcast. She's gotta listen to me, and we're obviously we're brothers, but we're best of friends, and I gotta travel 5 hours to go see my brother and my family since I moved down here. And it's like, she's got to listen to entire car trips back to Michigan about like, oh, listen to this song, or we talked about this, or this new Magic card's coming, whatever it is that I'm into. She's got to listen to it for 3-4 hours. On top of that, a kid in the back seat that's like, mom. So it's like me and Alex, so you can't get a break.
No, but you know what bugs me though is like somehow we're the losers because we're like totally excited about something,
passionate,
like meanwhile someone has no interest and just is a bump on the log. Oh, he's cool. Yeah. Great, man.
When I always, it's like the same thing coming from that creative world of stuff, because our family's very creative. Like everyone does something in it, even if they don't think it's creative. You know what I mean? But it's weird how there is that, like, I like to hear that people have hobbies. Like I want to go to a doctor that likes to play guitar. You know what I mean? It shows like there's a passion for living. There's like, it's not just like, oh, this is what I do, and then I go home and do nothing. Or so I like to. It's cool. I wish we, as a society, would move more towards like supporting people's artistic endeavors and be less like, are you, only to do it to make money and then yell at them when they are making money because you made it the wrong way for their like, whatever they said. You know what I mean? But
more hobby, adult hobbies, just like things that adults are into. Like I'm loving anytime I meet someone who's into anything. I don't care. I'm asking, or you've seen the scene in Local Legends. It's a true story. Like I'm asking people tons of questions.
Yes,
I'm totally curious about it.
Yeah.
And like I say in the movie, like no one's ever asking me. In the back of my mind, I'm like, anyone want to know about me? I'm pretty interesting. Anyone?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right, so we asked in beginning about the number of movies, but so we can probably just glaze over this real quick. But is there any other current projects you want to talk about, or things in the works? Probably the creative song process is always flowing, but you got the two movies.
Well, musically, I'm doing 50 songs a week for the year. That's my self-imposed goal until I hit 24,000 songs, and that'll be in mid-January. I'll hit 24,000 after doing 50 songs every week, which is insane. And I'm keeping up with it. But one thing I like to point out is writing and recording 50 songs a week is a lot. But then what just really makes it hard is then I have to type every title, into the metadata. Click the buttons for every track. I got to click the songwriter button. Does it have explicit lyrics? No. Is this a live track? No. Like 50 times a week, I got to type all that in. And after you click each button, like a little efforting symbol comes up on the computer screen for about 22 seconds, and I just sit there and stare so that I can do it again for the next title. And so, like, I'm not just the songwriter; I'm the administrative assistant. It's so tedious. Then I have to take a picture of myself and make an album cover. My album covers are not too well thought out. Did you say you're in graphic design, Travis?
Yeah, graphic design.
Well, I apologize to you and all the graphic designers for my album art, but I mean, I'm just trying to get this done.
Yeah, it's all about getting it done.
Yeah.
But at least I can be sitting on the couch and watching a show with my wife while I'm pressing all those buttons. But it's just so much. It's so much time and effort. So anyway, but yeah, that's 50 a week, and then the movies. We have 2 movies coming out this year. Both are black and white, and
nice.
And they're a little different. And one of them's like a noirish. They're both mysteries. One is kind of a serious, dark mystery. The other one is more of a lighthearted, comedic mystery. And they just happen to have like corresponding elements and themes. Because we were in the middle of one. We were in the middle of one when we started writing the other, and then we're like, let's throw in certain elements just for the fun of it. And so they kind of work together as companion pieces. And we've just finished both of them. We finished shooting both of them within 2 weeks of each other.
Oh wow!
And now it's like post-production stuff, but we're real close with at least one of them. And making a movie, let me add, it is just sitting on the couch hitting buttons is not so bad compared to getting up at 5:30 and going out into the woods, lugging equipment into the woods, and then you get to the point in the woods, you're ready to film, you're like, we left a prop in the car.
Right.
And then I got to go running down a mountain in the woods. all by then people are awake. They're like walking on this woods trail, and they're like, who's this crazy man, running with at one point I had 4 king size Milky Ways in my hand as I'm running through the woods. We needed it for the shot, and it's like, but one thing I say to my friends, like when 4 guys that I've known forever were out in the woods at 7 a.m, and I'm like, there's no other scenario in which the 4 of us would just be hanging out in the woods on a Saturday at 7. This is awesome,
Yeah.
That's good. Always look for that silver lining. All right. So also got so Extravaganza coming up in September. Yep. So I don't know if you want to plug that at all.
I'll talk about that. Yeah. So I've been this will be Extravaganza 5. I've done it every year, for the last 4 years, and now the 5th one is happening now. It's a 5-hour concert. It's me and 3 guys that I've known forever, and we don't live close, and so it's really just they show up maybe a day before the show, and we're like, all right, rehearsal. Let's
cram it through.
And we have like 60 songs on the set list. So like midway through the 2nd verse, I'm like, all right, we got that one. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, let's just keep going. Yeah,
we know enough. Let's go.
That's perfect.
We'll figure it out. Look for me. Like I give very, very big directions to the band to keep us together. But people come from all over. I always brag that we have someone who came from Australia to one of these shows, and some people came from Belgium for one of them. And,
one of them, you had a stat that there was 19, I think it was 19 tickets sold, or it was like one of the first couple ones, but none of them were from the same state. And I thought that was actually kind of amazing.
Something.
So that shows something.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like just people are friends now. People have been coming to pretty much every show. Like it's like a big reunion every year. And Charlie, the guy who directs the movies with me, he dresses up as the River Beast for the dance segment of the awesome. Show, and he's out there on the dance floor dancing with everybody while we play the River Mud Shuffle, which is one of the songs in the movie. And it's insane. It's just crazy.
And
it's just like an endurance test, kind of like, can you endure 5 hours of Matt Farley entertaining you?
Right.
Now, is this only live, or do you stream this at all? Is this available?
It's just in person. I like to push the. It's like you gotta come. But we put out a live CD of every show, and some of what we lack in tightness as a band, we make up with it with pure just energy. Like you can hear the energy that's going on there, and just everyone's on board. It's like a home field advantage where if people are traveling 1,000 miles, they're gonna know most of the songs, and that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Now it's funny because some people would think you'd be tired after 5 hours, but do you have like a lot of adrenaline after all that, like because of how hyped the crowd and seeing all these people? So you pretty much just probably can't even sleep after that, can you?
Right. Yeah. And it's a whole weekend of fun. Like we've done different things on this particular weekend. The show's on Friday night. Saturday morning, we're having a beach party where I'm just gonna announce a spot on the beach where anyone who wants to come can meet me there and just hang out. Because it's like the show that we're singing so much, there's not too much time for socializing. So we'll be able to hang out, have fun, talk. And then hopefully that Saturday night, we have a movie premiere too. That's not definitely going to happen, but I'm hoping to rent out a place and screen one of the new movies and just make it a whole weekend of
that'd be fantastic.
Moternism. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So what's the distribution plan for the new movies? Will that be available through you or through another label?
I'm not at liberty to say.
Okay, that's fine.
I want to say I want to talk about it, but we were like, let's be cool about this movie, and I'm like I said, I'm not cool, and it's very hard for me to do this. But
no,
Charlie, who I make
out there.
I vowed to Charlie that I'd be cool, and I've kept it together really well.
Okay, really well. I won't make you talk about it anymore because I can tell that's probably hard one to keep in. So Awesome.
You'll see them both sometime this year.
Perfect. All right. How about you, Travis? You got anything else?
No, I think we hit a lot of the stuff.
I think we covered a lot that we wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, this is a fun. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by and talking with us. This has been a blast talking with you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, well,
awesome. Real quick, I think one of the last things to touch on, I don't know if this is putting you on the spot or anything, but do you have any like tips or anything for someone who's like maybe a creator and they're at that point of, I need some inspiration to keep going? Do you have any like a go-to kind of
I
like
forgot
thing
about
that you
one.
like?
Sorry.
What's that? Oh,
I said I forgot about that question. Sorry. Yep.
Okay. But is there anything that you like to young creator kind of comes up to you and asks you, what's some advice you'd give them?
Well, I mean, always finish your project, no matter how good or bad you think it is. Like, just finish it. Like I mentioned earlier, how sometimes you think it's bad, but then you put it out there and it turns out people like it,
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, what's the harm? I guess the harm is ruining your reputation, I guess. In that case, release it under a pseudonym. You can protect your reputation and you still put it out there,
Mm-hmm.
So, but just get it out, because I find that, well, it's a bad habit, like the habit of not finishing something.
Yeah. Like,
just don't get, because then it just, you have a dozen, start projects that you started and never finished. And then it snowballs to the point where you're just not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, like I'm just relentlessly tough on myself. Like, you just have to do it. And making movies too. Like, my friends, I'm a tyrant on the movie set, we're like, come on guys, like no time for personal stories. We're working here, stay focused, and then just a few other, like, I think people are dishonest about how much time they spend watching TV,
Mm-hmm.
Like, people will say they watch TV 2 hours a day, but it's really like 7 hours a day, and so people will say, I don't have time to do something creative. It's like, just take 2 hours of your 7 of TV watching. Just spend those 2 hours working on your stuff, start there. You have, no matter how busy you are, you do actually have more time than you think, for the most part. If someone is out there working 4 jobs, then don't worry about, doing a little creative thing. But yeah, finish everything. And just, and like be a little bit insane about, like, and again, in Local Legends says it all. There's the businessman part of me who's like, come on, keep working, and bullying the artist into being productive.
Yes.
But you just need to do that in your own head, and then socializing. I think the young people spend a lot of time just hanging out with each other, and for me, when I was that age, I was like, what are we doing? We're just all sitting around watching that 70s, like a marathon of that 70s show. And I'm like, I don't even watch that 70s show, and I've already seen this episode, like, that's how omnipresent it is. And I'm like, what? We should be making a movie right now. This is crazy, and so, oh yeah, I got a lot of, forgive me for all this advice, but
no. I love it. Yeah.
Get your socializing done while being creative, so I make movies, so I get to spend time with my friends, but we're in the midst of this thing, and forget about hanging out. The night you spend hanging out with your friend, you forget immediately. But the night you spent, filming a scene for a movie, you never forget, because it's like intense. It's just intense experience. Forget about the finished product and whether, you become a superstar from it. It's a super memorable night that you had with your friend. And I just think that's a better way to socialize than just hanging out. But there are plenty of people who disagree with me, who are happy to just hang out. And we need consumers as much as we need producers, so I'm just inclined to be one of the producer types, and if people want to be, I guess the ultimate advice is like it's a lot more work than it is like creative inspiration. Like the creative inspiration is like just anyone can do the creative inspiration part, you know, like I'd like to make a movie about X, Y, or Z. That's the easy part. But like writing out the script, arranging location, you know, getting people to act in the movie and show up. I mean,
Yeah.
that is so much work. And then rewriting the movie when they don't show up, you know, a movie that you work a year on writing a script and then people don't show up for the filming and you're like, we're changing the script on the spot, you know? But it's so much fun. So, you know, for me, it's just like, I guess, yeah, it's all work, but it's also, you know, life affirming and joyful work.
Yeah, that's great.
And I totally agree with you too, like doing the stuff with your friends, because like all the movies that I made with my buddies like 20 years ago when I had a little camera, I started a webcomic with a really close friend. Like you remember those times forever. Even back when I was like in like the 6th grade, me and a buddy were going to start like a comic book kind of anthology. You know, we had no clue how to do it, but spent the night planning it out and making the cover. And it's like, that's what you remember the most are those times, not so much just
a lifetime of inside jokes too, you know?
Yeah. Yep. So I did have one final question on my behalf, kind of to fit the theme of our podcast, which is always what we're into at the moment. So, you know, we've talked a lot about your music and Motern Media. So outside your realm, what is one thing that you think that we need to check out or that you would find yourself into? Maybe it's a band or a movie or something like that. Any like one thing to check out, you know, as soon as possible.
Well, I'm going to break a rule and give you a bunch of things, if you don't mind.
Oh, no. I love it. Yeah. Wait,
okay.
That's more.
So for one thing, it's like my vinyl life, you know, it went from having 20 years ago, having like 11 big milk crates full of LPs, you know, and then slowly shrinking the collection, you know, but now the collection's growing again, you know. I got a new record player and we have this new like bookshelf that it fits in, and I'm like, I think it's time to start buying. Like I'm repurchasing albums that I gave away to Goodwill like 11 years ago, and it's crazy because they're more expensive now than ever. But I'm loving the vinyl life lately, and I just got a Howlin' Wolf album.
Nice.
And it's so good, especially that, you know, like that Chicago blues on vinyl, you know, you just put it on there and it's like, a man likes to sit down and listen to Howlin' Wolf. It just hits different. It's magical. And so, I've been loving the Howlin' Wolf and Thelonious Monk piano stuff. I've been going on jazz, and then I got Astral Weeks by Van Morrison, which I know inside and out, but still, it's real good. Real good album. Like, way to go, Van. Have you heard his latest record project, by the way, by Van?
No.
Oh, it's called Latest Record Project. It's like a double album. And it's just like one of the songs is called Why Are You on Facebook? And it's this like really basic blues riff. And Van's just like, why are you on Facebook?
That's awesome.
And he doesn't say these exact words, but essentially he's just like, you're wasting your life. It's like, I wish the sound of the music was appealing to me in any way, but it sounds really bland and tossed off. But the fact that it exists is just hilarious to me,
right?
On this like other level. And then movie wise, Friday the 13th Part 2, great movie. I like it. Starts with 10 minutes of flashbacks from Part 1.
Yes,
that's entertaining. You know, boom, you just filled up 10 minutes with the best parts of Part 1. The next 10 minutes, Jason is tracking down the girl who survived in Part 1. Somehow he has found out that she lives in a suburban house. How did he find this out? We don't know.
Yep.
He kills her. Entertaining scene. So now at that point, we're about like 17 minutes in. So they only had to write like 70 more minutes of this original movie.
Right.
And so there's not that much filler, although I guess it is all filler because it's just teens hanging out in a cabin, but I love every second of it. So Friday the 13th Part 2 is real good. A few other titles. Saving Silverman.
Oh,
This is Jason Biggs, Jack
Wonderful
Black,
movie.
Steve Zahn, and it seemed like it was just a run-of-the-mill teen comedy, because the teen comedies in that era, like 02, 01, 02,
yeah.
it was just one after the next. And this one slipped through the cracks. Everyone's just thought, oh, another Jason Biggs movie. Who cares? Au contraire.
Yeah.
Saving Silverman is brilliant.
It's a great
Oh
movie.
my God.
Yeah.
It is like, it's like this madcap, just totally anarchic comedy that Jack Black and Steve Zahn are just insane in it. And like, if you just sit down and watch it, like, and then Neil Diamond shows up near the end.
I love Neil.
Yeah.
And Amanda Peet is like fighting Steve Zahn like UFC style, and it's just like, whoa, this movie. There's this is really funny, and I defend that movie every chance I get, as you can tell. So that's it. Friday the 13th Part 2 and Saving Silverman.
Saving Silverman has a great director's commentary on it too, because I think it's Dennis Dugan and
Dennis Dugan.
Yeah, it's Steve. I think Steve Zahn is in it. I forget who's in it, or it might just be him. But you get to see all the scenes where he points out all the scenes where Steve Zahn and Jack Black are hungover from going to Tenacious D shows.
That's awesome.
Well, they delivered. They gosh darn delivered. How about this? Dennis Dugan called me once.
Oh,
really?
Because of course I have a song about Dennis Dugan, and I guess I gave out my number in the song, or he found it up. But one day, just suddenly, hey, this is Dennis Dugan, and I'm 99% sure it was really him, and I was not prepared for the conversation. Like, I was just my world was like collapsing in my brain, and I had so many questions I wanted to ask him, and it all ended too soon. But he was very nice.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Very awesome.
I like how he's kind of. You look at his filmography, and it's just like whatever movie comes up next, he's like, "All right, yeah, I'll direct it," and he just does the work. I like it.
Yeah, perfect. So I did have like a kind of a filler question from earlier, and I was gonna throw it in if we had a spot. And this sounds perfect time, but so are you a physical media guy? I take it. Do you prefer physical over streaming?
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
sorry, I know that goes contrary a little bit to the yeah.
So the vinyl, I do like it. I like looking at the cover. I like when there's liner notes,
Yeah.
And it's awesome. So yeah, but I'm also I don't have a big like CDs. I don't care. I've gotten rid of most of my CDs, and Gentleman's Blues by Cracker is a great album, and it's not on a streaming site, and so I regret getting rid of that one.
Oh,
but
yeah.
David Lowery doesn't like streaming, and so he's forbidden that album from being streamed. And I'm like, David, give me a break. I love that album, but but I'm on board with Spotify. I listen to Spotify all the time.
Yeah,
I
do
and
too.
then DVDs, I have a few favorites, just like, if there's a major catastrophe and all the internet goes down, I need to be able to watch a couple movies, like Friday the 13th Part 2, for instance.
Saving Silverman. Yeah. Well, that's how I mean.
Both of them.
So in a real weird, small world scenario, that's how I happen upon, Local Legends and Gold Ninja Video, was listening to another podcast about collecting physical media, essentially, Blu-rays. It's called Just the Discs. And one of the guests was talking about this small boutique label, Gold Ninja Video. And when I went on there, I was going through and I picked a couple things, and I just happened upon Local Legends, and I was like, this sounds great. And the price is right. I mean, it's, 10 or $15, and it's loaded with special features, which is right up my alley. I mean, that's what I love about buying them. So
let me say this about Gold Ninja. We've hooked up with several fly-by-night distribution options, where they're actually making money off our movie, and they're finding ways to not give it to us, like they have this list of expenses, and we're like, what? $3,000 on miscellaneous? Like, what are you talking about?
3,000 even?
Gold. Yeah, exactly. Gold Ninja. I mean, we've earned more money from Gold Ninja than any of our other deals ever.
Oh, that's great.
And Justin is awesome. He's the real deal. He's got a great podcast called The Important Cinema Club.
Yes.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And people, like you said, people will just never have heard of whatever he's putting out, but they trust him,
Yeah.
And there lots of people just every month they're just going to buy it no matter what, and that's pretty amazing because he's a filmmaker too, and so he treats filmmakers the way he would want to be treated, and we will be happy to keep working with him.
Yeah, I think I'm up to 15 blind title buys at this point in time from
Nice.
them. So yeah. But definitely one of the first, my very first order and shipment contained local legends, and then immediately went back on and got Don't Let the River Beast Get You. So.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's I made Local Legends in 2013. And it's cool that people are still discovering it. It definitely takes a while when you're doing an indie style for things to kind of trickle out into the world.
Yeah.
And people will watch River Beast and then see a picture of me like, oh, he aged, huh? Some reviews. Some people have gone to the beginning movies we made in 2001 and worked their way up to later movies, and they're like, it's so weird watching all these people slowly age before your eyes, in the course of a weekend, because we have the same people that we've been working with, for 20 plus years. And so, a lot of them in bit parts where you're like, oh, wait, that's the guy who did that. And the other, look, here he is.
That's awesome.
And so, it's cool. We're chronicling this weird group of people slowly aging.
Yep. All right. Well, fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
So while we close out the show, we'll do the usual. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe. But would you like to plug anything before we leave? Is there anything you want to
well, just give me a call. Viewers, 603-644-0048. And especially if you want to talk Saving Silverman.
That is a fantastic movie, yes. So glad we brought that up. There's I usually once a month, one of us in the house will be like, I love Neil. Or Chicks. It was never very high. Now it's at 0. So
fantastic.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. Fantastic conversation.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come into our world. We've thoroughly enjoyed your presence.
Right.
Yeah, this has been fun. And, if you're taking a road trip in September, take it to New Hampshire for the extravaganza. Dance with the River Beast.
Yes. Fantastic.
Fantastic. All right.
All right. Thanks. This has been fun.